Hello, dear astrology lovers, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alexandra, and I'm a professional ESAR certified astrologer. In today's video, we're covering the astrological transits for August 2026 and what a month it's going to be. We're entering the eclipse season, and on top of that, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Sun are all changing signs. Also, Mercury has just finished its retrograde journey through Cancer, and we're all eager to finally accelerate and move forward again. If July was marked by delays, misunderstandings, a melancholic mood with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, insecurity as well, or questioning different areas of your life, August is going to be quite the opposite. We're all going to feel a noticeable shift in energy, not only because Mercury is now moving direct, but also because of all the other planetary shifts taking place throughout the month. And now let's see what you can expect on a personal level. Hello, dear Aquarius Rising. This is your horoscope for August 2026. This month is bringing a lot of planetary activity in the sky, and in mid August, we'll have a powerful stellium in Leo in your seventh house, which is the house of marriage, partnerships, the public, and connections with other people. The stellium will consist of Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun, and the Moon, and the Sun and the Moon will be close to the South Node, so there will be a solar eclipse on August 12th in your seventh house. This could be an important month for you because it could initiate new collaborations and connections. But before the eclipse, in the first half of the month, we'll have some important planetary changes. On August 6th, Venus, the ruler of your fourth house and the ninth house as well, is entering Libra in your ninth house. And just a few days later, on the 9th, Mercury will enter Leo in your seventh house, and at the same time, it will form a conjunction with Jupiter. When these planetary changes happen, Venus in Libra, Mercury and Jupiter in Leo, and Uranus in Gemini will form a powerful lotus configuration. I'm not sure if you are familiar with this configuration, but it's very harmonious and beneficial. It consists of two sextiles and the trine. And in your case, it will include your ninth, seventh, and fifth house, with the emphasis on the seventh, because that's where you'll have the powerful stellium I just mentioned, as well as the solar eclipse in mid-August. All of these planets are benefics, and being connected within the lotus configuration, they could bring some positive changes and opportunities in your marriage, relationships, public life, and foreign travels. This is especially beneficial because Uranus is involved and it is your ruler. At the same time, Venus in Libra in your ninth house will form a grand air trine with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. It can bring positive circumstances related to foreign travel, especially in mid-August. And in the first half of the month, it will form a sextile with Mercury and Jupiter, and the trine with Uranus in the fifth house. So it could be an opportunity to travel somewhere. Or if you're already on a vacation during that period, you could have a really good time, especially if you're traveling with your partner. For some, this could also mean falling in love with a foreigner, especially if you have such potential in your birth chart. For example, a good aspect between Venus and Jupiter, or Venus in Sagittarius, and similar placements. And the first half of August could also bring opportunities for falling in love through internet, because Uranus is transiting your fifth house, and in August it will form a trine with Venus in Libra. And on top of that, they'll both have sextiles with Mercury, your fifth house ruler, and Jupiter in Leo in the seventh house. This is such a powerful and beautiful and lucky combination. If you have similar aspects in your birth chart, then mid-August could bring positive twists and turns in your love life and marriage as well. If you're married, the atmosphere could become lighter and more dynamic in the first half of the month. You probably know that Jupiter, the greatest benefic is transiting your seventh house, which is such a beneficial transit for marriage and relationships. And in mid August, it will be joined by Mercury, the ruler of your fifth house. If you want to learn more about Jupiter's transit through Leo, check out my video titled Aquarius Rising, Transiting Jupiter in Leo 2026-2027. The first 2 weeks could also bring new connections and acquaintances. Opportunities could come to you through other people completely unexpectedly because Uranus will be well aspecting the planets in the seventh house. Jupiter is your second house ruler, and in conjunction with Mercury, there could be some conversations about money and opportunities to earn it. The seventh house is also the house of public life. And this August could be the month in which you finally decide to be more visible, especially after the upcoming solar eclipse, which is also a new moon. The eclipse will happen on August the 12th at 20 degrees of Leo. It will be on the south node in your seventh house. If you have any planets around this degree of Leo, you could experience significant changes over the next 6 months, especially when it comes to your visibility, partnerships, marriage, and connections with other people. Of course, the conjunction is the strongest aspect. And then, if you have any planets around 20 degrees of other fire signs, as well as the air and fixed signs, this eclipse could shake them up and awaken their natal potential. Check which houses they rule and what kind of story they have to offer. And speaking of your seventh house, the following 6 months could bring significant events and new beginnings in that area of your life. Since the eclipse is happening on the south node, it could push you to make space for new experiences over the coming months. You might realize that certain connections and collaborations don't belong in your life anymore. You might decide to clear the space and let new people come in. It could be new clients, business partners, and even a romantic partner or a marriage partner. The fact that the eclipse is happening on the south node means that some fated and karmic connections are also possible. In the weeks and months following the eclipse, you could meet someone new and they could seem so familiar to you. And that's because you know them from your previous incarnations, and they might have an important role to play in your life. It could be a karmic lesson, especially through a romantic partnership. And in some cases, it could mean finally meeting your soulmate. Soulmates come from previous incarnations. They feel very familiar because you have a positive history with them. So pay attention to the people you meet after this eclipse, especially if you have planets around 20 degrees of Leo. As I mentioned earlier, the seventh house is also the house of the public. So if you have a hobby you're passionate about, you're creating something, or have products and skills that others could find useful, you could present them to the broader audience. This eclipse is also a new moon, and it can mark a powerful new beginning that will put you into the spotlight. It might be your turn to shine. The seventh house is, of course, the house of marriage. So some of you could get engaged or married after the eclipse. And what accentuates this possibility even more is the fact that Jupiter, the greatest benefic, is transiting your seventh house. So the atmosphere is amazing for connections, collaborations, and marriage, but pay attention to your communication in the days immediately before and after the eclipse. Mercury in Leo in your seventh house will be opposed to Pluto in Aquarius in the first house. So try to avoid conflicts because Mercury in Leo can be quite dramatic, especially when it's afflicted by Pluto. And another big thing that's happening is that on the 11th, one day before the eclipse, Mars, the ruler of your third house and the 10th house, is entering Cancer in the sixth. And the moment it enters Cancer, it will automatically form a T square with Venus and Neptune. This can be a bit challenging, especially when it comes to your atmosphere at work. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, and its actions are driven by emotions, so it can be too reactive and even passive aggressive at times. As the ruler of your house of communication, it can trigger conflicts, especially if you have similar aspects in your birth chart. Since it will be in a T square with Neptune and Venus, pay attention to miscommunication. Double check whether your message is coming through, and also listen actively. Also, some colleagues could be a bit sneaky, so don't trust everyone in August. And be careful with contracts. Mars, the ruler of your third house, will be afflicted by Neptune. So read everything carefully and think twice before putting your signature on it. Potential conflicts that I just mentioned could be heated up even more in the second half of the month, because Mars in Cancer in your sixth house will be squared by Saturn in Aries, your ruler, in the third house. There could be some tension or frustration because of stubbornness, obstacles, and even a lack of cooperation from other people. Both Saturn and Mars are malefics, and when they are debilitated by poor dignity, like in this case, they tend to express their more difficult qualities. And that means that they can even trigger hatred and heated conflicts that don't lead to any meaningful outcomes. If you have a similar affliction in your birth chart, try to avoid confrontation in the second half of the month, especially at work. The sixth house is also the house of health, and Mars will stay there until the end of September. Cancer rules the stomach, so pick the food you eat with care. If Mars is in a difficult aspect with the moon in your natal chart, then this transit could bring some acute health issues. So just, take some extra care about your health and be extra cautious. Also, with a square from Neptune, be aware of potential food poisoning and similar Neptunian things. Of course, this is not for everyone. I'm just covering as many possibilities as I can so everyone can take what resonates. And of course, make sure you don't get any accidental cuts or injuries, for example, while cooking or chopping your vegetables, and in similar situations. So keep these things somewhere in the back of your mind. Here, I have to underline that your birth chart is the basis of everything that's happening to you. And if you don't have any similar aspects in it, then these afflictions are not your story. It's not your atmosphere, and those are not your lessons to learn. You probably have some other lessons, and you're not prone to these specific situations. In general, as you can see, there's a lot of contrast in the aspects and configurations in August. The positive and negative ones are somehow intertwined, and for that reason, I also want to mention that the point of astrology is to help us navigate through them in the most beneficial way for us. So the first half of August could bring amazing opportunities, but instead of jumping into new experiences too fast, give yourself some time to observe because of the square between Mars, your third house ruler, and Neptune. You can make big moves later after your thorough assessment. And on the 23rd, the Sun will enter Virgo in your 8th house, and on the 20th, 25th, Mercury will follow. Both of these planets will be squared by Uranus in Gemini in your 5th house, so the end of the month could be a little stressful. The affliction will be active until the end of the month, and on the 28th, we'll have a lunar eclipse on the North Node at 4 degrees of Pisces in your 2nd house. If you have any planets around 4 degrees of Pisces and the other mutable signs, as well as the Earth and water signs, this eclipse could trigger significant changes. And again, this eclipse is a bit specific because Mercury and the Sun will form a T square with Uranus, your ruler, and the Moon. And the T square will include your 2nd, 8th, and 5th house. So, what does it mean? It could shake up your finances and your value system. I wouldn't recommend making any radical financial decisions in the second half of August. Give yourself time to think and analyze first. On the other hand, the eclipse will be on the North Node, which is positive because it represents growth and works like Jupiter. So maybe you'll be redirected towards something more meaningful when it comes to your sources of income. Maybe you've reached the ceiling and feel that it's time to change something. It could be your financial strategy, your sources of income, your prices, and how much you value yourself. The effect of an eclipse is 6 months, so the period after it could bring fated and significant changes in this area of your life. They can be initiated by you and also by uncontrollable circumstances. The second house also represents food and diet, so you might introduce some changes there. And in the end, I want to clarify that the impact of an eclipse um, needs to be understood properly, because some of you might get scared because of the affliction from Uranus in this case. For events to be activated, the eclipse has to fall on a planet or house cusp in your birth chart, or simply form a strong aspect with the planet in it. If the eclipse is activating something in your horoscope, and on top of that, you have similar aspects in your birth chart, then it could bring some important events. Otherwise, it can just pass. So, not every eclipse will impact everyone. And if it does impact you, try to stay grounded in the last week of August. And remember that even if change happens, it's nothing but an opportunity for growth and expansion, even if it doesn't seem like that in the beginning. To sum everything up, August is a super dynamic month, so try to make the most of the positive aspects and don't panic during the intense ones. I hope you found this video useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. You'll help it grow, and at the same time, you'll stay up to date with my monthly horoscopes and other astrology videos. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.